If anger does not leave you, it is not because you are a resentful person. It is because that anger is doing a job. It is protecting you from something that hurt too much. That is why it returns, why it stays, why it appears even when you thought you had already overcome it. Resentment is not hate. It is pain that had no exit. And as long as what happened is not named, resentment will continue to scream from within. This feeling of injustice that burns your chest and clouds your mind is not a failure of your character. It is a biological defense mechanism that was configured in the most vulnerable years of your life. To understand why you cannot let go of that anger, we must look back at the foundations of your childhood, where you learned to use resentment as a shield against a lack of protection. Resentment is, in essence, a contract that your nervous system signed to avoid being hurt in the same way again. If you grew up in an environment where your boundaries were not respected, where your needs were ignored, or where love was a bargaining chip, your brain recorded that being calm was dangerous. You learned that if you lowered your guard and forgave, you were exposed once again to the blow or to abandonment. Perhaps you saw one of your parents suffer in silence, and you swore that you would never be that weak. Or maybe you had to show a lot of anger just to be heard amidst the chaos of a dysfunctional home. In those moments, your nervous system discovered that anger gave you a false sense of power and control over a reality that overwhelmed you. Resentment became the guardian of your deepest wounds. Today, as an adult, when someone fails you or ignores you, that feeling jumps up immediately to prevent you from feeling the original pain that is still alive in your body. Resentment is pain frozen in time. As long as you do not process that pain, anger will continue to patrol your mind. Biologically, living with this weight is like having the car engine running at maximum power, but with the handbrake on. Your body is constantly flooded with attack chemicals, which generates a silent inflammation that affects your digestion, your sleep quality, and the health of your heart. Chronic anger keeps your muscles tense, especially the jaw and the shoulders, preparing you for a fight that happened years ago. You are consuming your vital energy in monitoring a past that can no longer be changed, leaving little room for the joy of the present. A frequent example is the deep resentment toward parents for the emotional or material deficiencies suffered. The problem is the constant comparison with what others had and you did not, which generates a bitter envy toward the happiness of others. This comes from a life where the child had to beg for attention, protection, or basic resources, feeling that they were not valuable enough to be cared for or to be a priority. Analyzing this depth, the inner child continues to cry out for a justice that time can no longer grant. The physical reaction is chronic fatigue, a heaviness in the limbs, and a persistent lump in the throat, as if you were walking through mud every day. In a real-life case, a professionally successful adult continues to reproach their parents every time they see them, seeking a repair, an apology, or a recognition that never arrives, turning every family gathering into an emotional battlefield. In deepening this, we see that their success is only a way to show them what they missed. But the anger remains there because success does not heal the lack of love. The long-term consequence is that this person lives looking in the rearview mirror, losing the opportunity to build their own abundance and their own functional family, because all their energy is trapped in the eternal claim for what was not, wasting their present on a demand that the past cannot answer. Another common and heartbreaking example is that of the person who cannot stop feeling anger toward an ex-partner for a betrayal or an infidelity from the past. The problem here is not just the betrayal itself, but the wound of humiliation and the feeling of having been a fool for trusting. In deepening their story, we discover that this pattern is usually born in a childhood where basic trust was broken by primary figures, teaching the child that the world is not a safe place and that loved ones can be the most dangerous ones. The body learned that trusting is synonymous with being destroyed. The physical reaction is a sudden heat that rises through the neck, a suffocating pressure in the stomach, and an immediate racing heart every time they remember that person's name. In a real-life case, someone who has been separated for years continues to check social media only to feed their resentment, because that anger is the only thing that makes them feel they still have dignity and that they have not surrendered to injustice. This person is trapped in a cycle where they prefer the fire of anger to the coldness of the void left by the loss. The consequence is a bitterness that contaminates their new relationships, preventing real surrender and condemning them to a defensive solitude where no one can enter deep enough to hurt them, but neither to love them, making their life stop at that exact moment of the betrayal. To exit this state of permanent anger, we must teach the nervous system that the danger has passed and that resentment can withdraw from its guard post. The path is not forced forgiveness, but the release of the accumulated physical burden. The first practical exercise is the practice of biological self-compassion through soothing touch. Every time you feel that resentment is burning you from within, or that the obsessive thought of injustice traps you, you are going to place your hands on your heart or your abdomen, and you are going to breathe deeply into that zone of tension. You will tell yourself mentally and with gentleness, "This is the pain that I am trying to protect with my anger. It is okay to feel this pain, but now I am here to take care of myself and I am safe." By deepening this practice, you are deliberately activating the calm and connection system of your brain, allowing the amygdala to lower its guard and stop sending war signals. You are validating the vulnerable wound that hides beneath the shield of resentment. This exercise works because it changes the chemistry of the blood, moving from the flood of cortisol to the production of oxytocin, which allows the nervous system to truly begin to de-inflame. With constant repetition, the brain understands that anger is no longer the only tool necessary to survive, and the resentment begins to dissolve due to a lack of vital function. The second practical exercise is the safe externalization of somatic anger. You're going to look for a space alone where no one will interrupt you. You're going to take a large cushion or a thick towel, and you are going to squeeze it with all your strength, wringing it, while you imagine that all that anger flows from the center of your chest toward your hands. You do not need to think about the person who hurt you or the specific situation. You only need to feel the raw force of the emotion in your muscles and let it express itself. Then, you will release the object suddenly, and you will observe how your hands tremble slightly and how your breathing changes. In deepening this act, you are allowing the excess attack energy that has been trapped in your circulatory system and in your muscle fibers to find a real motor exit. You are completing the defense cycle that your body started a long time ago and that could never finish because it was not safe to do so. This tells your brain in a nonverbal way that it no longer needs to store that energy for an imminent fight. Physically, what happens when you let go of anger is that your blood pressure levels stabilize, your digestive system relaxes, allowing for better nutrient absorption, and your immune system recovers its capacity to defend you from real threats and not from memories. True liberation is not an act of kindness or weakness toward the one who hurt you. It is an act of deep justice and love toward your own selves. You do not let go of resentment because the other deserves it or because what happened is okay. You let it go because your body deserves to live in peace and not be the stage for an eternal battle. Anger is not a chain that unites you to the other in a powerful way. It is a bonfire that you yourself hold in your hands and that only burns you while the other continues with their life. Biological freedom occurs when you understand that true justice will not come from an external apology that may never arrive, but from your capacity to lower the shield and allow your nervous system to return to its natural state of rest and regeneration. Forgiveness is not forgetting, nor is it mandatory reconciliation. It is the moment in which your biology decides that its present and its health are much more important than its old wound. See you in the next episode.